All right. Hey, everybody, Astrology Witch here, and I have a wonderful treat for you guys today. Happy Monday to everybody. I have the Herb Witch. You may have recognized her name, Kapui, right? Do I say it right?
Yeah, Kapui.
Happy Monday to everybody. I have the Herb Witch. You may have recognized her name, Kapui, right? Say it right?
Yeah, Kapui.
My YouTube. I think that's what's giving me trouble. Is I've got the feedback from you. Or is that your YouTube?
That was my YouTube.
Okay. Anyway, we're going to discuss herbs that heal today, and we're going to discuss stuff from cannabis all the way to lavender, okay, and everything in between. She is a great pillar of knowledge, and so I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Hi, guys. My name is Karin. I'm also known as the Canagoo. I've got a lot of nicknames. I'm a Reiki master and a holistic living consultant. In the course of my medical life path, I turned away from the standard medical community about 20 years ago now, because of the way they were supposed to be helping me made me feel worse than what I thought I needed to feel. And I dedicated my life to understanding how using these natural plants that we've already been given that can actually work to perform all the needs that we have that they're trying to feed medications to us to replace when natural products don't cause us side effects. They don't detract from our healing journey. And so I went out and played in the yard.
I love playing in the yard. It's perfect zen to play in the yard.
It's the best pharmacy I've ever found.
Even for mental therapy, just to get out in the garden, water and
well, that's just it. The energy of physical earth helps correct our natural energy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And keep us flowing in positive directions. And so, they even have they give it a name. It's called earthing. Okay.
Earthing.
I'm going to go out and play in the yard. You call it whatever you want.
Oh, I know. Here in my neck of the woods, because I'm rural Arizona, very conservative, we're a bunch of tree huggers. And that's okay. I would much rather hug a tree any day.
Well, and see, I grew up in the woods. I had 80 acres outside my backyard, and my parents would say, "Go out and play," and they to keep us busy, go look at that anthill and figure out what they're doing. But it showed us how teamwork works. It shows us, that you don't have to do everything else. I mean, the life lessons that my parents taught me through nature.
Right. Nope, that's true. There's things I've picked up along the way too, just by like when I was a little kid, I didn't have babysitters. My babysitters were my grandparents from Italy. And so, at the time I thought, God, I gotta go. I'm stuck with these two old people. I gotta deal with this all day. They don't speak English, they were always talking in Italian. I welcome that now. I sat there going, what an education I got, and their ancient ways of doing things, cultivating herbs and certain, my grandmother. Let's start off with dandelions. Because talking about my grandmother would harvest those and boil them and eat them. And in Italy, they're not called dandelion. Now I'm speaking in a Puglia dialect here because that's where my grandmother came from, but she used to call them chugadia. I need to go and pick my chugadia for the week. And it was her picking her dandelions, cooking them in a pot, straining it and then keeping it in the refrigerator, and she would pull that with her food, and like a side of greens, like collard greens. Or so let's talk about dandelions.
Okay.
Before we get into the cannabis, because I think that is really an important weed, as they call it.
Well, thank God it's finally coming into the mainstream of holistic health, and all of the science is now starting to figure it out and back up what I mean, back in the day, all we knew was how to smoke it.
Right.
Now, the real science of how to use it as medicine is finally coming out. And
with cannabis,
I am a cannabis patient, and it saved my life.
Rock and roll. I agree with that statement. And there are a lot of people out there that are very negative towards it. But I'll give you, my ex-husband was diagnosed when my daughter was 18 months old with Crohn's disease. And even his doctor at the time said, I can't, I don't have the resources as a doctor right now to write you a medical prescription. So he went and got his own. And the doctor on site said, you can't, if you want to heal your insides from inflammation, which is what people with Crohn's get, you have to ingest it. You can't smoke it.
Yes.
I mean, smoking it isn't going to do anything. It has to get into the bloodstream. So what do you know about that? We'll start with cannabis first then.
Well, okay, I've got the dandelion right here, but
we'll go back to that.
Smoking it is for our respiratory, our sinuses, wherever air goes.
Okay.
It is medicine. It does help. But smoking the flower, which is what we've been smoking for the last whatever, you're burning plant products. Just like burning wood, you have carcinogens that are created because of the biomass, the structure of the plant. Okay. That's where the harmful comes in. But when you take the extract, the cannabinoids out of the plant mass, then you're dealing with pure medicine. This is where vaping and dabs are really coming to the forefront, because vaping is actually vaporization. It's not burning.
So is it better for your lungs?
Absolutely.
Vaping the cannabis oil, is that what that is? The oil?
Yes. And I am talking about the raw cannabis oil. I'm not talking about putting it into a cartridge in some sort of solution. That's usually an oil. One of the reasons that all those people started dying is because people started doing make your own, and they use vitamin E oil thinking, oh, well, that's healthy. I'll be okay. Not inside your lungs. Your lungs are meant for
oxygen.
Yes. Whether it's a blend of oxygen, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and therefore vaporizing it puts it into an air form, shall we say.
Well, that isn't really popular with all the kids these days, like the ones that are in their early 20s. Vape.
A little bit will go a long, long way.
Really?
Your usage actually goes down. But you are right. In terms of the rest of our body, though, it's definitely ingesting. That is the true medicinal use of cannabis. Okay. That's why I make my own chocolates. I have a tincture I make. I make oil that I put in my coffee every morning. That's my AM dose of medicine.
No, I know there are a lot of people out there that are very anti-cannabis, even in the spiritual community, the esoteric community, the witch community, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. But they're happy to take a Norco or gabapentin or oh God, what are those?
Vicodin, Percocet.
And then, let's go away from pain medications. Let's talk about the sugar pills for diabetes, Lipitor for lowering your blood
cholesterol.
All of those things have side effects. Cannabis works on all of those problems,
right,
using our endocannabinoid system that we have in our body. This is the system that takes that medicine and puts it to use where it needs to go. Our bodies really are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. Think about your respiratory system. Our lungs get oxygen all the way to our big toe because our blood takes it there.
Right.
We've got the home center in our lungs. We've got distribution. Logistics are covered. All this stuff. And we've been, oh no, that can't be it. I need a pill.
Right. I told you this off air before we got on, and I said once the doctors started prescribing my aunt gabapentin, she went downhill in a year, and we lost her. We lost her on the fall equinox of 2017. 22nd of September 2017 will live in infamy in my mind. But this is why my mother, 83, not on one medication, refuses to. And it took an act of the goddess, literally, for me to get her to use these. I bought these when I left California because it wasn't legal here yet.
Right.
But this is what I use on my mother's feet for arthritis. I'm trying to center it. This is called liquid flower.
Yeah.
And one of them, this one is the one for pain. This one's the one for pain. This one is the one with the THC in it.
Okay.
This one is the one that's just CBD, I believe. And so we switch off with the two. If she's in a lot of pain, we go with the one with THC. Or
something else that I'd like to suggest is adding some lavender oil into that.
Okay.
I've done a lot of personal care throughout my work history that I had. And I had excellent results using nothing but lavender 2 times daily on a woman who had horrible neuropathy in her feet.
Really?
It took me a year, but I did it.
and she
acclimated
to it.
I went from, if I touched her foot, she would scream, to giving her pedicures and painting her toenails.
Aww.
So, this is something that we've also been groomed through the big business of medicine, is that we have a magic pill. And it's supposed to fix it immediately. Well, our bodies take time to heal. The disease that you're working with probably took years to get to that point where you need to address it.
Right.
Therefore, it's going to take time to back it off. Now, the beautiful thing about cannabis is that its first action is to reduce inflammation.
Right.
And so, chronic pain, it starts reducing the swelling in our shoulder that has bursitis, which is inflammation of the joint. And so that pain starts relaxing and releasing. Blood flow improves. Blood flow allows nutrients to come in so that the body can repair whatever damage is there. And
makes sense.
The cannabinoids are also in there working with all those nutrients to fix our stuff. I mean, you're talking about regrowing the myelin sheath on nerves. You're talking about rebuilding a tendon that's been damaged. These things that are chronic, that can't be fixed, well, yes, they can.
It just takes a little more patience with holistic. I think in the society we live in, people want a quick fix instantly. And
we've been trained.
We've been trained like that. There's no patience anymore. And with holistic, it takes 30 plus days to get your body acclimated.
Yes.
What I wanted to ask you was, I have it written down here as one of my questions to you, and I want to know what the difference is between. This is confusing for me. Always has been. The difference between CBD, CBG, and THC. I have a good idea what THC is, but those other two.
The devil weed.
Yeah, the THC is the Nirvana effect.
There you go. Oh, okay. These, you see, cannabis has over 100 different cannabinoids that have been discovered so far. There's more probably that we don't know about.
Right.
And their focus, of course, is on the ones that are available in the highest quantities within the plant, because that's where they're going to make the most money, right?
Right. No, it makes sense. Makes sense. Money talks.
Right. You see, this is just it. All the cannabinoids work together as a team, like a symphony orchestra or a baseball team. That's the action they have. They're a team player, you know, and so CBG, CBD, and THC are the big three that they've found so far.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now this is where it gets cool. They all have their spot on the team, right?
Right.
Okay, so CBG, let's go with that, because I call it the key master. Because what it does is it goes in and opens up our endocannabinoid system within our body so that it accepts CBD, THC, all the other cannabinoids more readily and uses them to their highest efficacy, their most efficient use.
Oh, wow.
And so this, and as I teach my classes, I have THC dab, CBD dab, and THC, CBG, CBD, and THC.
See, that's you're getting confused. Wow, I'm getting.
I got the big three.
The big three. Okay.
And what I do is I have them use the CBG first and experience that feeling within their body. And that is not a psychoactive one.
Okay.
That's a physiological one.
Okay.
Then, because most of the people that I deal with have anxiety and chronic pain, then I have them do the CBD. And it's so fun to watch their faces as they go through this 3-step process I have with them. Because the worry light starts softening, the peace starts coming out of their eyes. They start smiling.
Because they're not in pain.
It's like taking a nice, deep,
relaxing
breath. And then to finish up, we do the THC so they can experience the psychoactive effects as well. And when you do these, you know, you're taking a very small amount. You're not smoking a whole bong or a bowl or a joint or whatever. Right. You're doing, you know, a 1 inhale, maybe 2, to start feeling that effect. And this is how you actually take the power over your own health back, because you get to decide. Do you only need 1? Maybe you need 2. Hey, it's Sunday. I'm watching a football game. I'm going 3. It's up to you.
That's wonderful. You're in control. You're in control. The individual.
Right. That's just it. For the medical patients, what they're finding is that, you know, during the day, maybe they only do CBG and CBD. And then once they're home, they decide to go with the CBD, CBG, and THC. They get to choose what part of the body that they want to focus on, you know? And people, they're happy. They're so ecstatic because they're feeling better. They're being more productive in their lives. They're getting things done. And they've got they're they're they've got a positive outset
They
again.
have their life back.
Yeah,
They
they
can
have
live with dignity again and hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
You
I
know,
am a firm believer that this opioid problem we've had is a direct result of big farm
it
and
is.
the way, you were talking about opioids and how they kept people addicted and they were just writing prescriptions like
Yeah.
candy here, here, here,
Yeah.
here. Um, they're
Well,
part of the reason we're in this situation.
and that's just it. What do opioids do? It's an offshoot of opium.
Right.
Opium dens, that are some of our most brilliant minds, lost themselves in to deaden that pain
Mhm.
and take us away from it.
Now, is opium heroin? Is heroin a different
No,
drug?
no, it's a different drug.
Okay.
Opium comes from the opium poppy.
Okay,
It,
right.
it is natural. However, it's been processed through history into, the Norco and
Right.
all of the Vicodin and all that stuff in pill form. Once again, magic pills,
Yep.
But yes, they help our pain, but they also deaden our minds. And
That's it.
so it's,
Yep.
that's not what healing is supposed to be. It's kind of like just keeping us quiet.
I used to be a dental assistant, and we'd get patients in the office, and I'm not exaggerating, Oscar-winning performances on they need pain meds. And the dentist I worked for was a little short guy from Brooklyn, New York, little Jewish guy, and he'd like look at me going, "Are you kidding me? Is he kidding me?" He'd have this heavy New York accent, and I'd go, "Should I give her an Oscar for her performance on how she needs Vicodin for her pain?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, you see, that's just it. I am a holistic woman. I don't even have aspirin in my house.
that's
And I
wonderful.
deal with all these medical patients with cannabis. And what's really, really beautiful is that when they start dialing in on their medical cannabis prescription, we'll call it that,
Right.
because it's up to them to decide. They they start they start stopping their Norcos. They're not taking as many. I mean, it's wonderful. They quit their gabapentin because it doesn't make them feel right, but the cannabis does.
Right.
And so, I mean, they used to call cannabis a gateway drug. Well,
Right. Thanks
now,
to the Reagan years.
what's really cool is that gateway is getting them away from those pills. It's
Right.
helping with alcoholism and
Mhm.
other addictions because, people who quit cannabis are grumpy, but they're not going into physical detox.
Exactly. That
You
and
know?
it's the with cannabis, you can't really I mean, you get panic attacks, I've heard, from smoking too much, but you don't die from it. Like sometimes you watch these commercials and they tell you the side effects of things, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, hell no.
It actually, that is one of the reasons that I became a medical patient, is because I had PTSD symptoms and did experience full blown panic attacks. And
It's not fun.
I haven't been threshold panic attack for close to 2 years now.
That's good.
And I got triggered, and it started happening. And I was teaching my landlord about medical cannabis. And this happened, and I'm like, every moment is a moment to learn and also a moment to teach. And so I went to his house, which is right next to mine, and walked in and said, I am about to go into a panic attack, and I'm going to show you how I use marijuana to pull myself back from that threshold. And for the next 20 minutes, I hit my Yocan, which is usually within reach. Oops. And talked myself through it. I'm also, I have a lot of mental health care experience. I'm a big fan of cognitive behavior therapy, thinking through the problem, talking through it. And that's what I sat there and did with him so he could see how I, manage my own personal issues,
Right.
And so this is just it. But I also knew that the blend of cannabis that I was using was designed for anti-anxiety.
See, so there's different strains for different things.
Right. And that's just because of the cannabinoids that they have in that particular plant. This is why, White Widow, as an example, is really good for pain.
White Widow.
Say hello.
Hello, Mary. Mary Jane.
And see, but that's just it. I, as a medical patient here in Illinois, I can grow my own plants. And so White Widow is the one that I choose for pain management.
And that is a strain, White Willow?
White Widow.
White Widow.
Yeah, see this? Yeah.
Write this down. White Widow. Just think of the spider.
There you go. There you go. But with a bleach job.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
And this is just, I've dialed into what works for me personally. And this is what I help other medical patients do as well. For instance, someone with Crohn's disease, as like your husband, like you mentioned, may prefer a different strain. Bipolar people who suffer with bipolar challenges, may prefer something else. This is just it. There are so many strains coming out. Number one, because genetics and crossing and creating new strains is a lot of fun.
Oh, I bet.
I bet. But this is also, this is botany as science. And this is, you can cross two plants and you'll get seeds, but it's the first generation. It's kind of like when you're breeding dogs.
Yeah.
You've got to breed 4 or 5 generations down if you cross, like as a labradoodle. Okay. They're not going to come out consistently the same.
Oh.
Until you breed, a lab and a poodle. You get the dog that looks like the way you want it to. Then, and you have to be genetically responsible, because you can't crossbreed right back in. Well, at plant level, yes, you can, but at animal level, you need to bring in fresh blood.
Okay.
So you have to breed not only that first seed, but its children, its grandchildren, its great-grandchildren.
To get one specific strain.
To get it consistent.
Oh, wow. And I didn't realize that it took all of this.
I work with geneticists as well, and in fact, I got some AK-10 seeds. Most people know it as it's an offshoot of AK-47.
Oh, okay.
And these are called AK-10s, but they're first generation. And the plant that I started from the seed I got doesn't even look like marijuana.
Really?
Yeah, I'm flowering it out. I don't think I'm going to be repeating that just because it's not stable enough. It doesn't look like the way the plant should look. It's very strange.
Okay.
You know, but and see, this is just it. Let's talk about sativas and indicas.
Okay.
Because that's something else that it's very confusing. It's another choice.
The guy at the place where I buy my mom's stuff said to me, think of it this way. And I don't know if you've ever heard this. Indica puts you into couch.
That comes from a marijuana comedy sitcom that had Kathy Bates as the owner. It was awesome. I love.
Is that on Netflix?
I think so. Yeah.
I saw an ad for that and I'm going, I wonder if that's any good.
That's worth watching. That's a good time.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
Now, for those people who've been in dispensaries, we know that we only wish it could be that warm and cozy. For people that have never been in dispensaries, it's
overwhelming.
Well, it's very friendly. There's couches. It's all chill. It's kind of like a hippie pot shop. They were smoking, within the store and that kind of thing. Which
like a coffee shop in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
I've been to Amsterdam. I've partaked in, when in Rome, right? And I'm like, this is the coolest thing. I'm drinking coffee and smoking a joint on a couch in Amsterdam.
Yeah, but and that was the way Kathy explained it. Is think of indicas as couch.
Couch. Okay, that's where he got the term from. Now I'm going to have to go watch that show.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. You see, well, and what that means is that it's a heavy physical relaxation and it's very calming on the mind. I mean, basically, you're happy just flipping channels.
Right.
With a pizza and a Hershey's bar. Whereas a sativa dominant, because you breed these together, though you can get blends. This is how they customize. But a sativa dominant is one that you get up and you go and you want to do stuff and raw. It's ambitious.
But I do apologize for the banging. If you guys can hear that banging, I have construction guys building me a deck, and it's a little loud today. I'm sorry.
My cloner's bubbling in the background.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going down my list here. We've covered the cannabis stuff. We know the difference between.
I know we still haven't got the dandelions.
I know. That's the next.
All right.
If any of you have any questions, don't hesitate to throw them into the chat and we will try and answer them the best we can. I want to move on from cannabis to dandelions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Or as my grandmother from Italy would call them, chugadia. Chugadia. I got to go pick my chugadia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chugadia.
Dandelion and dandelion root. This is a big thing in holistic medicine.
Yeah. And what I always look at is, first of all, okay, I know what a dandelion looks like. So what's it good for? How can we use it? What's its purpose? And it's supposed to stimulate our appetites.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm wondering, because as I've lived holistically, the more that I am away from processed foods,
right,
the more sensitive I am to any chemical stuff like that. And I'm wondering, is this stimulating appetite? Something like a dandelion, to me, would stimulate us more towards healthy life choices. It looks like the sun to me. A dandelion always looks like
a little
suns. And energetically, that leads us to our happiness.
Right. No, true.
And so this is when I read stimulating appetite, I felt like it stimulated us to eat happier, healthier choices for us.
Making healthier, more conscious.
That was my intuitive interpretation. Like we should do this on Monday.
There you go. No, I sat through going Monday's the day. Dandelions, maybe it increases appetite too, because for people who are dealing with cancer,
exactly,
they lose their appetites.
Yep. Also, it's supposed to increase bile flow. Bile is what our liver produces to digest and get rid of all of our food.
Okay.
And so to me, I'm like, well, this is why I kept thinking about dandelions, is because I want to make sure that the part of us, especially living in COVID now, removing toxins from our bodies, because dead bacteria can become a toxin. It's debris. It's junk. It's garbage. So bile helps us excrete all of those pathogens and things like that die. So to me, I'm like, oh, it just got more important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I noticed going to like Sprouts or a Whole Foods, there is a lot more emphasis, and I've seen it more in the last few years, pushing dandelion tea, dandelion root.
And I actually have I bought this a couple of years ago, never used it, oops, but it's a detoxifying program using dandelion tea.
Really?
Yes. And personally, I'm all about, our bodies, when we put it into our mouth as medicine, we'll take it where it needs to go and do with it what it needs to do. And so, and I have been thinking about dandelions quite a bit recently. And I'm like, well, why is this? It sounds like I should probably start farming them, because they grow in our yards around here. Yeah. And I told anybody who doesn't use any pesticides or herbicides on their yard that I will come and harvest their plantain for my lotion, because it's very good for pain, but also their dandelions, because I want to do the dandelion roots. I want to use the leaves as salad. And then over the weekend, I got a recipe for fried blooms, dandelion flower.
Ooh, that sounds yummy.
And you pick a bunch. It's kind of like mushrooms. Pick a bunch, crack an egg, get some flour, salt and pepper, season it, and then roll it in the egg, roll it in the flour, and pan fry it. And I was talking to a guy, said he used to make them for his kids all the time. And so that's on my dinner menu this week.
Ooh, yeah, you'll have to tell me how those are.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to rain today, so I don't know if I'm going to go outside and play.
I wish. Could you send some rain to Arizona? We're in the world's worst drought right now.
Really? Well, see, it's going to be hard, because most of our weather moves from west to east.
True.
So, yeah, I got mine, and I don't know how to get you yours, sister.
But yes, dandelions are important. In fact, I was just having that conversation with you before we went on. I told you my neighbor was asking me the other day when I was out there weeding, you missed a few. And I'm like, no, I didn't. She goes, no, those yellow things. No, I'm leaving those. Why? Because not only is it good for the bees, pollination, it's also a natural herbal remedy. So no, I'm keeping all the yellow ones. This is the same lady who told me when I first moved here to please yank out my willow tree in the front yard. Now, in June and July, that tree is covered with ladybugs. There's no way I am cutting any tree down on my property.
Willow also has a lot of medicinal properties.
Yes, I believe that's true. Yes, you're
Oh,
right.
here, let me check. I got out one of my books today to make sure that if we had questions that if I didn't know it, I could find it. Besides Google. Let's see, white oak. What did I do with it? Witch hazel, of course. Wild yam. Willow. Aches and pains and fever.
It what? I'm sorry.
Aches and pains and fever. So if you took some of the whips that break off, that I still have,
Right.
live in them and did an extraction, and it would probably, water. If you did like a slow simmer of the whips, you would probably have some really good pain medication.
All right, that's good to
I would
know.
start with topical and look more into.
Right now, I have a family of lizards living at the bottom underneath, and I have like 15 lizards running around my yard. I just love it, and um, it's just so cool to see all this nature running around my yard, because when we first moved here there was nothing, and I was like, I have no crows anymore and I have no squirrels in my yard. I was complaining, and so my husband, who is a green thumb guy, says you have to plant stuff that's going to invite them in. So he took over and he did some things, and he goes, it's wintertime, come spring you'll have tons of stuff. And sure enough, he was right. I have ravens, doves, lizards.
Well, and see, one of the things that the organic people in our area are very aware of, because we live in a farming community. There's lots of Monsanto. There's all
Oh
the
yeah.
all the bad boys, but we also are pretty artistic, holistic energy. We're about an hour and a half outside of Chicago.
Oh,
So
okay.
we've got a real good blend of world, planet.
Now, someone in the chat, D, was saying that if you take a piece of willow branch and you put it in your room where you sleep or under your pillow, it's supposed to help with vivid dreams.
Really?
I'm going to have to try that. I put a little stone of amethyst because I'm working with dream journaling right now. I'm going to have to try the willow bark. That's a good one. Thanks, D.
And actually, I've got a girlfriend. I can get some willow whips too. That's something else that I really started to. It's time for me to start working on dream work. It's something that I've actually neglected because of the spirit that I live in every day as an energy worker. Reiki is non-manipulative touch therapy.
Right.
And with the cannabis and Reiki are awesome.
I bet. Yes.
My clients really like it.
That's good.
But there's so much more that I can be offering people. But they don't, I know this, but they don't even know to bring it up, that this is something that they'd like to work with. Energy work, the things we're experiencing spiritually. I mean, we're waking up as a collective.
Absolutely.
And this is one of the reasons that I agreed to go on live on YouTube with you.
It was, when I asked you, you immediately said yes. I go, well, that was easy. Usually when I ask, people go, oh, I don't know.
Well, I can teach one-on-one because of COVID. I cannot, I tried to arrange classes at our local senior center, and no, they weren't open to that suggestion.
To holistic herbs for seniors. They were opposed to that.
Yeah, well, and see, that's just it. I don't hide my support of cannabis at all. I also work with a doctor so that people who ask me, how do I get my medical card in Illinois? I have a doctor that, because of teleconference now, it works out. My goal is to help anyone who wants to learn how to use this. I mean, it changed my life. Astrology witch, I'm going to help change the stars.
Oh, hey, that's the beauty of it. And I always tell my clients this as well. When I give someone a reading, I always tell them, look, just because our stars are set in place, we as human beings have the power to be stronger than our stars. The power in here to change is more powerful than
You
any
know what?
of our stars.
You know what I'm getting is that I don't have to fight my stars. All I need to do is be able to dance among them.
That's it. Go with the flow.
And
That's it. Go
flow.
with the flow of the
Yeah.
cosmic energy.
Yeah.
Divination in the chat says maybe because the seniors wouldn't have access to any type of holistic product.
Well, the beauty about holistic life is the fact that we're talking about dandelions as medicine. I believe seniors have dandelions in their front yards too. This is in terms of cannabis.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I live in Illinois. We have recreational and we have medical. And CBD products are all over the stores.
Here in Arizona too.
But the thing is, with Google, there are YouTube videos. You can Google how to make cannabis oil.
Oh yes.
Or extract, and there are videos. There's tons of information out there, but people don't even know how to look for it. This
right, and it's a taboo subject still for some.
Yeah, well, see, that's just it. I will go up to anyone and talk to them about cannabis because I know there is some way, whether it's liniment or some lotion for my mom's feet, or you know what? I've given a friend of mine, her mother was losing her life to cancer, and she was at hospice stage. And I gave her medicinal chocolates to help ease her mother's
pain
and anxiety that's created time of passing.
Right.
The whole way this started with me is that my man was diagnosed with renal sarcoma. It's untreatable cancer. And so it was 3 months from diagnosis to death. And there was nothing, even as, a Reiki practitioner and all that stuff, I could ease the progression. Mm-hmm. But he also did not have the faith that he was going to be able to stop the progression. And it got down to his last week, and he went hospice, and we got the morphine and the lorazepam and whatever else whatever we wanted, they were ready to give us. Mm-hmm. And a friend gave us a bottle of Rick Simpson oil. This was diluted into coconut oil as medicine. And that was the only thing that mediated his pain.
Really?
And kept him awake and calm so that he could enjoy that week with his children and his grandchildren.
Aww.
Yeah. I wish I knew about that back at diagnosis. This was part of what I got into is my grieving process when I locked myself down for 6 months and looked at a computer screen, trying not to cry. But I found Rick Simpson oil. And
Rick Simpson oil.
Yes. And that's what we call dabs. Rick Simpson figured out a way to extract those cannabinoids from marijuana and cured his own cancer with it. And so he made a video of everything and put it on the web and made it public information.
Let me ask you a question. Is that still up on the web?
Yes.
It is. It didn't get taken down because, you know.
In fact, when you're reading cannabis literature and you see RSO, and that's what they call it, is Rick Simpson oil, RSO.
Wow.
And that's where all of this stuff started. Yeah.
Wow.
Now I'd vote for him for president.
Rick Simpson for president. There you go.
I think he's been, the law he's fought it's been a battle for that man.
I bet.
Stuck with it.
Yeah. Well, I think too, as years go by, it's going to be easier to treat holistically.
That's just it. People experience in their own personal life. Their mom, their dad, they see what it can do. And so people are becoming more and more open as they learn, which is why I am saying everything I can.
Well, you know, it's funny. I used to work in AM radio, and I used to have a show called Astrology with T, and I did a lot of things with my astrology teacher was on. But one night he decided not to go on, and I was actually going to have Tommy Chong on. And Tommy Chong, I had talked to him on Messenger, and he said, well, because I got to tell you something, it'll be hitting the news in the next day or two. And I kind of felt like, wow, I'm getting like personal news here.
By the way,
I have to go to Mexico. I have been diagnosed with prostate cancer. And this was back in 2011, 2012. I've been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I refuse to have any of that chemo and any of that crap. He goes, and isn't it ironic? I get to go and get myself treated with weed. And he did. He went to some holistic place in Mexico where they treated him holistically with cannabis. And he has been, I believe, cancer-free for a couple of years now.
Cool. And Tommy actually has his own weed strain.
I believe that.
Yeah.
He has his own TikTok channel, and I follow him because him and his wife are hilarious together. And he's just sitting there smoking away.
Oh God. And that's just it. This is those men who kept growing marijuana all through all the illegality and stuff. I consider them the Robin Hoods of our time.
Yeah.
Because, not only did they keep growing it and making it available to people, but they also improved it and made it stronger. And I'm not talking about just increasing THC. I'm talking about breeding for node spacing and the blend of sativa indica. It's an art. It is an art. And I mean, bless their geeky little science hearts.
That's very true. It is an art.
And
I think as the years go by, people will be more open to it. And once it becomes, like you said, it's not legal on the federal level. You can't pass it back and forth between state lines or anything like that. But I think as we progress, and I use that word, progress, expanding our minds and educating our minds with knowledge, I think we're well on the way here.
Well, and see, this is the beauty is that, I mean, I'm not talking, when I talked about, those geneticists that are improving, this plant. And this is all organic growers, permaculture growers. There's a wonderful place out in I think Oregon. And I mean, as a lifestyle, it's beautiful. I mean, but it is not, it's improving us as human beings, but it's also finally rebuilding Mother Gaia as well.
Absolutely.
We have done such horrible things to this planet. It's a living organism.
It's just a matter of time before she says, "I've had enough of you, children.
Don't
Put you in timeout. I'm going to have an earthquake."
I don't really want to be shaken off like a flea. Yeah, that's not my gig.
I know what's happening to the plant, but I'm a firm believer. Mother Earth knows how to replenish herself. She knows how to heal herself. I always tell humans this. Well, we're the ones who'll go extinct. She will live on.
Yeah, she will. Well, think about this. Okay, earthquakes. You're an ex-Cali girl. Those are tectonic plates, kind of like the scales that cover our planet, or the puzzle pieces of the exoskeleton. They shift, and that does. I mean, it's to make Mother Earth more comfortable.
Absolutely. I always say when there's an earthquake, Mother Gaia is stretching herself.
Yeah.
Oh. Rumble, rumble.
Well, and maybe we dug a hole somewhere where we shouldn't have, or God only knows, or there's too much crap in one part and it pulled it. There's all sorts of stuff that do we even look at? Do we look at at the, let's say, downtown LA? Do we look at how much weight that puts on that particular part? Is that like
LA is the last place I would live. Even where I came from, I was in Central California, so I was on the Monterey Peninsula, and I was sandwiched between San Francisco 2 hours away and LA 6 hours away. But when we had our big earthquake in '89, the Loma Prieta, our area got hit hard. Not so much Monterey Salinas, but Watsonville area. A lot of places in San Francisco that had landfill because, human beings, men who are thinking of just building for money, don't think of the repercussions of, you're going to throw landfill in here on seismic activity ground. It's not going to hold.
Yeah.
Like the Monterey Peninsula, the reason that place didn't get that much damage is because the peninsula is built on rock. It's rock. I'm not saying it can't get destroyed in an earthquake, but a lot less damage because there was no landfill. Everything is kind of on a rock.
So, it's solid.
Yeah. Solid. That's the word.
It's the difference between concrete and gravel.
That's true. Very true. I kind of got off the sidetrack here. We were on herbs. I'm talking about earthquakes, but I do want to ask you about a couple of herbs I have listed here. Now, rosemary. Love rosemary. I use rosemary in a lot of my magical things for spell work.
It's vibrant. Rosemary is very vibrant. Energetically.
What are some of the holistic properties of rosemary?
Rosemary, she's badass.
Hi, sweet butterfly girl. Rosemary's a badass. I've met a few women named Rosemary, and they were badasses.
Well, it's beautiful. Okay, just by sniffing rosemary, you can improve your short-term memory by like 30%.
Really?
Yes. And, this is the science of aromatherapy. And, this is and so think about the Italians, using rosemary in so much of their cooking. The Greeks using it with, lamb. I mean, it's a vibrant and eye-opening. It's kind of like peppermint without the, I don't know, menthol type
flavoring.
Yeah, to me. But it also is a wonderful antibiotic, antibacterial. I use it in my liniment that I make because it's also good for pain. And bugs don't like it either.
I've noticed that. I've been using rosemary. I don't know if I have it in my little box here, but it's probably in the bathroom. I put 1 drop of rosemary oil and I massage my scalp, and it kind of stimulates this help from. I wouldn't say it helps your hair grow, but it does stimulate the blood.
Think about that, okay? If it impacts your brain by 30% by using it all over your skull, that's some good witching.
I know. Woo! I know. Some people don't like the smell, but I notice when I put that in my hair and I go out and do my gardening, I'm not bothered by bugs.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of the ingredients.
Hi, Regina.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, no, rosemary is not part of my bug spray.
Oh, okay.
But clove is.
I like cloves.
Yeah.
Too. That's a nice
This is a really simple recipe, and it's lavender, orange, clove, and then cedarwood.
You said lavender, orange,
clove, and cedarwood.
Clove and cedarwood.
Yes.
And now, these are oil. An oil?
I'm being the hippie chick that I am. There's patchouli in everything I make. Well, I'm also an air sign, so it helps me ground myself.
There you go.
Well, it's a deep note, and that is also a base chakra oil, and yeah.
Someone said the Heathen Coalition is in the chat, and they said that rosemary. Can you see the chat at all?
Yes, I can. Now I can.
Okay.
Dictionary, herb of memory.
Bada boom, bada bing.
Spectacular. Yeah, well, and see, that's just it. What's really cool is that I am referencing a medical report. And so really? This, I bring, this is when I talk, I have scientific backing, because if you want to call me full of shit, you can, but I'm going to have a reference for where I found this information.
That's absolutely how it should be.
Well, that way we can go back and both double check it, because, I'm human. My humanness, you know what? I'm freaking wrong sometimes.
Well, we're all wrong sometimes. If we can't be right all the time, I mean, we're human. We're flawed, and I think people are really hard on themselves sometimes. You know, there's a lot of pressure, and it's like, you know what? I mean, there are times I've gone back and seen the replay of my show, and it's like, oh my God, I accidentally said full moon instead of new moon. I got myself confused. And there are going to be people out there that nitpick on that. I always say to myself that when people that do that, you've got a strong concentration of Virgo in your chart somewhere, Missy.
I was just going to ask you if do you micromanage which?
Even though I have a Virgo rising, and I micromanage myself. I don't micromanage anybody else because I can only handle myself. When I was younger, I would do that, try and micromanage. And it's like, no, now that I'm at a certain age, I don't give an F. I just care about micromanaging myself.
Yeah. Well, I care very much about other people, but
I do too.
Want them to live a free and happy life. And so I can't tell them, WTF, what to do.
Exactly.
unless I've got, hey, this is what I did, it worked for me, or this is what I did and it didn't work for me. That's all I can say.
And working with special needs kids, micromanaging is impossible.
Yeah.
When I work with the special needs kids,
to help.
Go with the flow. Just go with the flow.
Yeah.
When I was speaking of, I want to jump to another herb here.
Okay.
Speaking of this, but when I was working with my special needs kids, I had this like squishy beanie thing. And inside the beanie, I sewed up a sachet full of lavender and lavender herbs and lavender oil. And anytime one of my kids was getting kind of, restless, hold the magic beanie. Here's the magic beanie. Miss Linda brought this magic, and he would sit there and he'd sit there, and sniff it, and just slowly calmed him down. And I remember the special needs teacher goes, what happened? Explain. Well, it's all about mindfulness and using herbs to help the children.
That's the magic.
Lavender. So let's talk about lavender because it's my favorite.
Yeah. Well, and see, lavender, I mean, I call it the aspirin of the essential oil world because you scratch yourself, lavender, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. Okay, well, that means that all that redness and infection just doesn't happen. But if you do, that'll help it too. And also, lavender, if you get a splinter, it pops it out for you. Give it 8 hours, though. Lavender for headaches, lavender for sleep. Oh, yeah. And it's also, the bugs don't like it. I had it planted around my deck so that we never got bothered by mosquitoes.
So lavender is a mosquito repellent? I didn't know that.
It's part of my bug spray that I make.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to try that. I'm allergic to mosquitoes, and when I can get bit by one and I'm fine. But if I get bit by like 5 or 6, I'm in the ER.
Okay.
And I swell like Popeye.
You would not like Northern Illinois.
Luckily, where I'm at now, and I'm in central Arizona, and I'm about 54,000 feet up, 5,400. I'm in a very high elevation. No, not many mosquitoes. They don't like it.
No, not at all. Lucky you.
No, so lavender, it can be a natural inflammatory. Now, basil. I want to talk about basil.
Yes, I wanted to bring up. I meant to say it when rosemary, because of course to me it's one of the Italian herbs.
Right. And basil too.
Rosemary, basil, and
oregano.
Thank you. The big three. Basil is awesome. Basil is another anti-inflammatory, antibacterial. When I would lose a tooth, I would gargle or do a mouth rinse with clove and basil in it.
Clove and basil?
Yeah, because everything holistic, right? I didn't go to dentists. I let them work out naturally. And so to manage the irritation and the pain as it dropped and got loose.
The tooth. Cloves. That's right. The cloves.
1 drop of clove and 1 drop of oregano in a rinse, and it was done.
Oh, I've got to remember that. 1 drop of clove, 1 drop of oregano in a mouth rinse for tooth pain.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Back to basil.
Basil
I wanted to bring up because it is bug season and it is really good for spider bites. It will kill the brown recluse venom. And I wouldn't say this unless I had tested it on myself because I got bit and I didn't realize it for about 48 to 72 hours. And I'm like, oh, if that's a brown recluse, I better treat it, and got my basil oil. And in 3 or 4 days, it was gone. There was no scar. There was no necrosis of tissue, the death-making whole thing that happens. So, I mean, it does work. It is effective. Should you see a doctor? Yes. But I started getting better so fast.
That's I've used basil oil. I have a friend who's a distributor for doTERRA oils, and I had gotten bit last year when we were in quarantine. And it wasn't a brown recluse, but it didn't look pretty either. I was like looking at it going, oh God.
Those spider girls, they get nasty real quick.
Yeah. And she said, start treating it with basil oil. Do you have basil oil? And I'm like, yes, I'm looking in my little collection of oils. I said, yes, I do. She says, start treating it.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, in about 48 hours, you could hardly tell I had gotten bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. You know, and that's just it. Of course, when this happened, I Googled brown recluse bite so I would know what I was looking at on my arm is what it looked like on other people.
Right.
And of course, then all the horror stories, the pictures were put up there, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm going to just use basil oil on this. But hey,
it worked.
It did like that. I mean, and so like, that's just it. The things that I've tried actually work. I would love for everybody to know about this stuff.
Someone's asking me about basil oil, so I just want to show them. If I could find it. Okay, so this one's oregano oil for divination. Let me hold it. My doTERRA oregano oil, but I have one. It's not in here. It's probably somewhere in the kitchen. I have one just like this that is basil oil, and when I was treating my bug bite, I didn't dilute it in anything. I just kind of put a little bit of oil goes an absolute long way.
Yeah.
Just a little bit every 2 times a day, and that's all I needed. But the basil oil, speaking of oils, because there's a lot of misconceptions, I have always been told that you want to go with the highest quality of oil, and the only 2 brands out there, and they compete with each other, are doTERRA and Young Living, I think.
First of all, I'm glad you're very aware of and open to mass marketing.
Oh, well, you can make it too.
What you need, look deeper. Okay, is that oil, did they source it responsibly?
Well, doTERRA, I will say that.
For instance, sandalwood.
Okay.
Sandalwood oil. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I love it.
I use it in a lot of magical.
It actually corrects genetic damage within our mRNA. I mean, it's beautiful healing oil, but they've raped and pillaged the land to get that sandalwood because it's a tree.
Right.
And instead of harvesting and replacing and doing all that stuff, it's been.
Well, you do have to
sustainably manufactured.
You have to go with companies, that are mindful to the environment. And doTERRA is one of those companies. I can't speak for Young Living. I know that company, I don't do business with Young Living, and this is just me, because they are very religious. There's a strong religious element there, and that just kind of turns me off. But you can make your own oils as well. Don't go by me.
This is just it. Research the company that you're using, because when you do that research, what companies say they are, and then you look at how they do their business. They are not in the same ballgame.
Exactly. That's very true. You've got to really know if you're going to buy it. Now, there are some oils I make myself. And of course,
right, exactly.
Stuff I make is for magical stuff more. Like I make my own hot foot oil, and I make my, I make all kinds of different oils for my magical practices.
Yeah. Now that I have literally learned everything I need to know as a private individual from seed to medicine for marijuana. Okay, that extraction process, I mean, not only growing it, but harvesting it and then making medicine from what I've grown. I mean, I can do that with lavender. I can do that with anything. Dandelions.
Dandelions, yep.
I've learned all of this applicable science. And so, yeah, that's what I want to help people do. Yes,
Divination's talking about making their own oil to cover it. Yep. So let me ask you something.
Now, okay, one thing, and this is, that's just it, divination. I've never done this, but looking at your process, one of the things you have to realize, and this is interesting, about natural products, all of our plants, and this is what I've learned through cannabis, is that light actually, once it's harvested and we're drying it and doing all that stuff, light is actually detrimental to the product, the harvest. And so I use light protective glass ball mason jars to cure my cannabis. And so what I'm looking at is leaving it in the windowsill for a few weeks in oil.
And what kind of oil?
I would be concerned. I would have to look at what the recommended extraction process is, but yeah, it might be that easy.
What kind of oil would you use? Like an olive oil or a coconut oil?
I use coconut oil, organic coconut oil, and there are 3 different types of oil that you can get from coconuts. There's MCT, which is liquid at room temperature, and that is all medium chain triglycerides. Triglycerides are basically what oil is made of. That's what oil is. And then there's 76 degree and 92 degree MCT oil. And those are solids, well, up until 76 degrees, and then one starts becoming liquid. And then there's the 92 degree, and that's where that melts. But for all my products, for everything I do, whenever I, dilute the raw extract, I use coconut oil, organic coconut oil.
Okay.
Yeah, and, for topicals, it's got a natural pH of 7, so it's a little bit of sun protection for you, natural sun protection. And it's because it's also a plant, so it just goes more into holistic life.
All right, good to know.
Also, I mean, there's everything I use is natural. Beeswax for my topicals, vitamin E. I mean, it's just stuff that's out there. We can do this.
It's good to know. This is all important information. I'm glad I had you on, because it's a lot of people are in the chat and we're learning. Everything is a learning experience.
It's so, if I go to a friend's house and I happen to be looking for something, and I open up the medicine cabinet and I look at it, and I was just like, oh, jeez.
I do want to go on to another herb, because I'm kind of giggling and I'm laughing, because last year when COVID first hit, I said to my daughters, okay, girls, you have to take a couple of drops of oregano oil and water.
Good.
Okay. And well, only I ended up doing this. They took one sip and were like, hell no, lady, that ain't happening.
You kind of got to do it
like a shot. And I'm trying to explain to them what you got to drink it. We were paranoid back then.
You know what? Make them a salad and put it in the dressing. Yeah.
So oregano, are the properties for oregano?
Oregano,
holistically.
Holistically, oregano. She's tough girl.
She's spicy.
Well, she's
too.
Well, that's just it. She's quintessential to me in Italian cooking. But to grow oregano, I mean, it wants to take over. She's
one of those pushy Italians. Pushy Italians.
But once again, she's highly antibacterial. I mean,
I will say this. That's very true. The one thing that takes over my herb garden is oregano.
Yeah. I had to container grow it because it tried to take over my herb garden. I'm like, I grew up very close to an Italian family, so I knew how pushy they can be.
Yes, they don't take no for an answer. I remember when my husband was dating me and I sat there, they're going to like ask you like 20 times, are you hungry and do you want something to eat? For the love of God, just say, okay, yes, I'll eat, and leave it at that. Because if you say no, you're not going to leave the house without eating. So just say, okay, I'll eat. And I was right. You hungry? Have something to eat. No, I'm okay. Oh, but you got to have a little something. I warned you. Say yes. Just okay.
Well,
I argue with my grandmother.
Obviously, he looked like he needed some oregano, basil, and rosemary.
Oh, wow. Oregano sap is good for hives.
Yeah,
that's good to know.
Anti-inflammatory.
Thanks, Diva Nation, for tuning in. You have a great day too. All right. I have a question about another herb. My daughter came by here and threw a note at me just a second ago.
Okay.
I don't know if this is an herb or an oil, but every time my daughter gets like a lesion, she has a little vial of Helichrysium.
Okay, that's a flower.
Okay.
And it's a fairly expensive oil, but yes, it's one. I mean, there are. I have over 100 essential oils in this house to make different medicinal recipes with them. My Reiki clients that I have, if they have, I mean, with Reiki, I can work directly over suture sites and all this stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have all these oils to use in the practice for relaxation or to work on broken bones or whatever it is that, the issue that they want to work on. This is just it. It's not manipulation. This energy is out there. The frequency of that oil is what your body needs to rebuild itself. And so to tune in like that to flow more closely. That's what it is. We're flowing more closely with this. It's not a grab or anything like that. There is plenty of energy for everyone.
Absolutely.
And
I think thousands of years ago, not just our ancestors were doing this, but even, before this continent was invaded, our native brothers and sisters knew how to heal with herbs.
Do you work with your spirit guides?
I have in the past, yes. And right now I'm doing shadow work because of issues I have. I like working with my shadow work right now, but I have worked with spirit guides, yes.
Yeah. I have, I see him now. He's beautiful. But no, one of my guides is native and he's a strong silent man, but he's always around when what I'm doing is honorable.
That makes sense. Well, what you're doing is honorable. You're healing people. through herbs.
And the only thing I'm doing is helping them heal themselves.
That's true. You're
that's,
educating them.
That's
is what I should have said.
real magic.
That's the. Well, it's funny you said that because my daughter told me, don't forget to go on TikTok and make an ad for this. You know, and I'm like, I'm very disenchanted with TikTok right now. I'm just like, I want to be around adults, not children. So
computers were just hitting when I was in high school. And so I'm kind of old school. I believe in face-to-face, which is why I love this today.
Oh, yes.
Is that it's the ability to communicate. And if we didn't have this, it wouldn't work out. Texting all this?
Oh, no. I know. So I did do a TikTok for this, and I just kind of explained, you know, I'm going on. This is a little more than just magic. And I was explaining that in Witch Talk, I was explaining that we're always talking about hexing. I'm going to, let's hex. But I'm a firm believer that if you can't heal, you can't hex. There takes more power and energy within yourself to help heal than hex.
I am an ancestral, and the reason I know this is because I saw my last name in Wiccan or witchcraft history as being burned alive at the stake in Germany in the 1600s, my last name. And of course, the hair almost jumped out of my skin when that happened. I was researching healing plants for my backyard, and the witches had the plants. They had all of that.
Oh, wow.
And so that was how I spent my winter, was with the Encyclopedia of Witchcraft and all of those, and I saw that, and I'd always loved the world of magic, and so I started looking into it. And as I've aged, because obviously I am crone, it's become just a part of me, and it's not a competition. It's about creating my own magic for you. Don't put it out there for the world. Save it for yourself.
Well, true. Very true.
And that's just it. The world can't fuck with you. Pardon my French.
No.
They can't mess with you then.
It's true. Someone in the chat is asking if you offer any kind of classes or any kind of a mentorship.
Regina, I'd love to figure that out. That's just it. I know all this stuff. I just don't know what to call myself and how to charge for it. Because I'm sure it has some value, but I don't. Wow.
You could always set up a Zoom thing and, create a class for, money-wise, I don't know. Create a class charging a certain fee and maybe make a PDF of a list of herbs and their properties and recipes.
That's just it. That it's all out there. It can be done.
Well, I can help you.
I'm more interested in I'm happy to teach about each herb and all of that stuff. But I also, do I give a man a fish or do I teach a man to fish? And so, I want you to learn, if you have a question, here, you can find an answer that's already natural and in our world. And, this way, as we learn together, because you may have interests that I haven't looked into yet, believe it or not, I do take a couple days a week off trying not to be a geek.
Well, I do too,
But I have a lot of fun, though.
for the people that are watching, there is a book that I've had for many years, and it's kind of my go-to book. It's called The Healing Secrets of the Native Americans by Porter Shimmer. Let me see if I can find that.
I've got a bunch of native healing practices as well. In fact, I'm planning on going to Oklahoma to work with a grower down there, and I'm going to be in the area of like 5 tribal nations. So,
oh wow, where is this?
And the grower is also native, and I asked him if I could possibly meet the healer or one of the elders in the tribe, just to feel that energy.
Oh yeah.
See how I vibe with that. I mean, that to me could be a really cool experience, especially since I know I have connection in there somehow, even
in the astral realm. Yeah.
Yeah, you see, this is just it. I went to a place, it's a park over in Iowa, and it's called Maquoketa Caves.
Oh.
And it's such a cool geological little pocket area, and there are caves, and it's all water drainage, and there are tunnels that the water's made. It's just amazing. They also have these like 30-foot tall, like stone cairns. It's just like Monterey Peninsula, but these are 10 feet around.
Oh, wow.
In among them.
Oh, nice.
And anyway, I walked in there, and I'm the hair standing up on my arms right now. But I walked in there and I looked up and I could feel the original
occupants.
Thank you. Not the owners, they didn't own it.
The original occupants of that land.
But I could feel them looking down at me from those cairns, and I mean, it was an amazing experience.
Well, it looks like if you ever did decide to have a class, there are people that will pay for that knowledge. You might want to think about it, and if you need help, my daughter helps me with my electronic challenges.
Awesome, because I've got some.
So whenever I'm at a loss here, I kind of just, you hear me go, Maya, I need help, and she comes running in, and she knows how to do a lot of that stuff.
Well, see, this is just it. What we've done today is exactly what I do every day with my clients that come in for their one-on-one cannabis classes, or my Reiki clients, whatever. I mean, I hope a rising tide raises all boats. And so if I can help people elevate and start living their best lives, wow, I'm thinking that's a really good way to create a web.
Please do. You don't have a website?
No.
Okay.
I have a Facebook page, and then I watch, see, this is just it.
Regina, we're going to get her going on this, okay?
I've lived in the 3D world for a long time.
Okay.
I've been a widow now it'll be 5 years this year.
Sorry.
And you know what, though? It was meant to happen, or I would not be here today. Yeah. And I am a happy, healthy woman who just wants to share some sunshine
and help others heal.
Yeah, because when we shine our light, the dark will not withstand.
That's very true. That's very true.
I mean, yes, things are dark in this world. Yes, the energies that are approaching us are going to challenge us on the individual and societal level. But okay, then let's get heads up to prepare as we best can. Honor this experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I do think as we start moving, please remember Pluto that
Uh-huh.
is sitting in Capricorn still. So this is creating all kinds of political drama because
Uh-huh.
Capricorn rules politics. 2023, that planet moves into Aquarius. This is new age. This is about thinking outside the box. The thinking will be maybe a little more eccentric, but for the better in some ways. So as time goes by,
I
for
think more and more people are realizing that what is happening is not the way it's going to work out.
absolutely, yep,
You
people are
know?
waking up.
Yeah.
People are becoming enlightened. So
Yeah. And now it's more important now to start telling people it's going to be okay. We just got to work together on it.
that's it. We have to work together. Even I
Yeah.
mean, even
So
on that witch talk, it's like the message is being completely
yeah,
miscued. I
you
don't
you
remember
you
ever
with your channel.
fighting,
I've got this in my head. Let's get together and see what we can do. That's
working as a collective.
collaboration.
Yeah,
You know,
that's how it should be.
that
Helping each other. Because I always say, in outside of the witch community, this happens as well. So even, witches are human too, but
yeah.
ego, and this is happening on YouTube too,
uh,
ego is always getting in the way of progress.
With every Reiki session, I always intone with my intention for the healing that's about to happen. And part of my request to the energies is that you keep my ego out of whatever is happening for the highest good for all of
Right.
us. Because, well, of course I've got screws loose.
We all have screws loose.
Exactly.
Some are looser than others, but we all have screws loose.
Come on, girls. I'm vintage, okay?
So funny.
Oh no, this has
Are,
been
are
this has
there any
been
other questions in the chat before we wrap this up? And we'll work on a website. You can probably do something a simple website for free.
well, and see, that's just it. It's not that I don't have, friends that, do design websites and stuff like that, but I have come from a long, twisted path. I've always been of the light, but as a Libra, everything had to balance it. It takes forever trying to find your way.
This is true. Balance and harmony.
But, well, see, but that's just it. I've delayed my own progress because I want to try and make sure it's fair for everybody. And I can't do that anymore.
Right. Trying to please everybody is impossible.
Exactly.
You
Well,
can't do it.
and this is what I was just faced with recently is that friend of mine, well, I hope it was well meaning, but he's like, you're just too much for some people. And I was like, I'm too much. Okay, and being the Libra, what did I do? I flipped a coin over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I'm too much, then that means they're not enough.
Mm.
But that's got to be what am I feeling that? I got to be feeling that if I'm the one if I got told that that's how they see me, I mean, if everything I am is too much, well, I'm going to go and find somebody that's got a bigger cup.
Like I said, people are judgmental. People are opinionated. I've had people that I've done readings on and they didn't like what I said.
Uh-huh.
And that's like, okay, well, you just paid me this money. What do you want me to do? Lie to you? Do
Yeah.
you want me to bullshit my way through your reading and tell you everything's going to be okay when in reality, in a couple of months, you're fucked?
Mm-hmm.
Pardon
Yeah.
my French. No, I have to be true. If I'm not honest with you, then I'm not true to myself.
Right.
And that's where your integrity of your work comes in. So
Yes.
ignore people. My grandfather used to have an expression, and he had a heavy Italian accent when he used to say this. He used to go, Linda, everybody's got opinions, but you know what they say about opinions? It's like an asshole. Say it in his Italian accent, and I've heard this expression before. It's like, he's right. Oh, he's so right. You're welcome, Regina. Thanks for tuning in, hon. And yes, definitely check out the replay.
I thank you. Yes, very much.
And we'll work something out in the next few months, maybe having you back on again. Maybe we can do a kind of we can even do a class on my channel and promote you that way. And
that's just it. This is my white widow. And you know what I had planned on doing, Linda, is as a medical patient, that plant is meant to be put outdoors in my garden because I can grow 5 plants.
And is that what you're allowed for medicinal out there? 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's also my outdoor growing classroom.
Oh, wow.
And
cool.
I took a picture of it yesterday, or when did I put them in? Thursday? Whatever. But I had planned on documenting how to grow outside because it's different than growing it as a house plant.
Absolutely. Yep.
And see, that's just it. I've got to figure out some of the logistics, how to get it done. But I mean, that's just it. It's kind of a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
So yeah, I definitely want to get with you. It's time to do this.
Okay.
Because next winter it can be the indoor grow season.
This is true.
We've got a TV channel.
And even here in Arizona, I think you're allowed up to like six plants.
Uh-huh.
However, I'm only growing 1 just to experiment. I'm not the world's greatest green thumb. I'm definitely not a green witch. Okay.
Well, and see,
but I try.
This is just it. It's easy to grow marijuana, but if you want to grow great weed, there's some techniques. That's what I teach. That's the people that taught me are those 30-year black market growers, the bad boys that I went to high school with.
The county boys.
I got them. Well, they got their medical cards through me, and now they're growing again, and they're happy. Oh, they're so happy.
Good.
And that's just it. They grow organic, and now they're starting to understand it as the medicine. And so, I'm helping my friends. It's cool as hell.
That's wonderful. I can tell just by looking at you and how you talk about this that this is what you were meant to do, and you love doing it. And I
think so. I mean, one of my nicknames is Goof, and I mean it's pretty accurate.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being goofy from time to time. We all need that. I think there are a lot of people in this world that really need to pull the pickle out of their ass because they're just so wound up, so tight that it's like, let it go.
You know what? And of course, on my healing journey that I've been on, first of all, let's go with who was it? Paul. That's a physician, heal thyself. If I'm going to be a healer, then shouldn't I be the poster child for what
healing yourself.
Well, as you know, as an example of, okay, well, this is what I found, out there in the world of, holistic plants and all this stuff. And this is how it's working for me.
Whatever works,
Well, but that's just it. And it's simple and it's fun. What would you do if you knew you could not fail? Okay. All right, then.
You go, girl. You do you.
I'm going to go back to, when the newspaper came out to my school, and as a second grader was asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?"
What did you say?
Well, this was, the child that ran around the woods and saw the fairies and the gnomes and all the magic.
So what did you tell them?
Well, and of course, I'm being mainstream education out in a little country school, and I mean, it's just 1969. So no, 1972. Anyway, I was playing Foursquare, and they stopped and asked us this, and one said a nurse, one said a teacher, blah blah blah, all as women. And I'm like, well, I didn't want to do any of those things, and I thought about it, and I was always taught to take care of my sister because we were out in the woods. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna be a nurse. And they're like, well, why? And I thought about because I had to fix all their boo-boos, and I'm like, because I want them to be happy and feel better.
Well,
that's my business motto from second grade.
Well, I'll tell you. When I was a kid, I always said I wanted to be a veterinarian because I loved animals. But as I got older, I realized, no, I would be crying along with the person that's losing their animal. And I would just not be, I know myself. I know how much I love animals that just would not work. Well, so as years went by, I kind of sat there and said, I never thought I would ever call myself an astrologist. If someone came at me 30 years ago today and said, Linda, in about 10 years from now, if I was 20 and someone came at me and said, when you hit 30, you're going to become an astrologer, I would have said, get out of here.
Yeah, and then go punch the time clock and go, what?
I know. But I will say that because of my astrology knowledge, it had helped me, and just like your knowledge in medicinal herbs.
Yeah. See, and this is
throughout the years.
I've always been attracted to this information. I mean, I was reading Carl Jung and I've got psychology in grade school for some reason, dream interpretation. These were
right
that I got. My mom got me to keep. That was I liked magic and all the psychology. I don't know. I've always done it.
My very first pagan book I ever read, I actually picked it up at a yard sale around the corner from my house. And it was called The Grandmother of Time book by Zsa Budapest. She's an old crone now in her late 70s, lives in the Monterey Peninsula. But I read that book and I sat there and I went, oh my God, I'm female. I am powerful. I am mighty. And that mantra, after reading that book, just set the path for paganism.
I know. I feel ya.
And by sheer luck, I found that book at a garage sale. The lady that was selling it says, I don't know, someone bought it for me, and I'm not into that witchcraft, evil, demon shit. And I'm like looking around going, witchcraft, evil, demon shit?
That's just
look at this book.
I kind of grew up casual pagan, I mean, I lived in the woods. I got to play in the woods and
What a
the
playground.
neighborhood,
How fun.
that's just it. It was actually pretty idyllic, but that also didn't prepare me for the shitstorm that's actually the real world.
Yeah, I know.
but but I grew up pagan. We didn't have to go to church. We'd go out and play in the woods and take walks and
Now, that's a nice upbringing that you were
that's
growing up.
it. Go collect tadpoles every spring
Aw.
and trail deer and look for. I mean,
So you didn't grow up in a incredibly religious household. If
no,
not quite the opposite.
We went to church until we were about 5, and then because we had school on the weekdays and stuff, the weekends were our only playtime really during the school year. And mom and dad were like, do you want to go, or you want to go play outside and do chores and do all the stuff we had to do here? And so we quit going to church.
My parents had stopped going to church. Through the years, I just kind of sat there going, as I got older and older, 10, 11, 12, it was to a point where my mom was like, you just stay home because you're embarrassing us now. Why? Why am I embarrassing you? Because I ask questions that the church doesn't want to answer.
Yeah, you see, now I jumped back in and mainstreamed because it was social.
Right.
Do I look like a wallflower? Anyway.
Well, my mom used to get upset because I would never associate with any of the children there. I wanted nothing to do with it. In fact, I remember I would go outside and I'd look up into the stars and I'd sit there and I'd go, oh, please abduct me. I don't want to be in church. I mean, this is the mind of an 8-year-old, abduct me.
Yeah, see, that's just it. We didn't have to go and do all that BS at that age,
Thank God. That's good.
But, I also left because of the hypocrisy.
Yep.
Just, no, I want you to be happy. You go dance in the moonlight. That's happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's pagan.
That's right.
Well, I mean, yes, we should live a good life, but yes, if you want to call it God, whatever spirit, whatever that thing is that created us.
Higher power, creator.
Right. And yes, we are like children, but we are not out of control children. We have our own minds.
Right.
And, we know the difference between right and wrong. We just need to have the courage to live it and believe enough in ourselves that we can do our own.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and enlightening us to the realm of herbs and holistic. Herbs aren't just for magic. They're for everyday life.
What a beautiful opportunity this has been. I followed you on YouTube and love your insight because you look into those energies that I feel. And so you've helped me gain a better foothold in making sure that I'm okay.
Well,
there's things going on in the world.
Yeah, and I always tell people when we're aware of the elements above us, we can deal with what's going on below. We can handle it better because we have some knowledge of it. Ignorance is not always bliss.
Right. Well, you see,
knowledge is power.
If we're awake, then we're aware.
Exactly. Awake and aware. Well, we're going to have to do a second show in a month or two, if you don't mind coming back on with me one of these days.
Love to, Linda.
I will get with my daughter and see if she has any ideas on how we could get you a class going.
Yeah, that's just it. I have, because this is what I do in the world to make my money, that part of it I haven't really looked into.
Well, we'll work on that. We'll discuss.
Yeah, I would love to look at that. And now I'm like, I need to clean that little camera thing because I put tape over it when I don't use it.
No, that's smart.
I know.
I turn mine around.
Yeah. See, that's just it. I had to, as part of one of my college literature classes, read Orwell's 1984.
Oh,
in 1984. And with the growth in technology that we have now, being able to read about this in a book, what,
kind of creepy, isn't it?
20 years ago, something like that. Okay.
No. It's a creepy thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so. It is. But yeah, but yes, let's do this again. Thank you enough for this opportunity. Good things.
Yep. And I will shoot you an email right after the show.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All of you out there tuning in.
Hey peeps, trust me, better living through herbs. Lots of herbs.
Not just cannabis, but lots of herbs.
Yes. They're fun. Try it.
All right. Thank you, Herb Witch, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we will be back one of these days for round 2.
Well, yeah, because we didn't even talk about mushrooms.
No, we didn't. We'll have to do this. We'll have to do a second part because I actually have a list of other herbs here that we didn't get to, but I have an appointment to get to in an hour. So
well, see, that's just it. I need to plant marigolds to
there you go.
Looks out of my garden.
So we will do a part 2 in the coming weeks ahead, and I will keep all of you posted who inquired about classes. I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, and thank you so much. I wish I could have, without glasses, I can't read that. And then I forget about
well, I won't log off yet. I'll let you scroll through and read all of the comments.
This is so cool. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we'll talk soon.
My peeps. Wow.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Have a great week ahead. Be safe and blessed be. Namaste. Bye.